Hey everyone, welcome back, and today let's solve Leetcode problem 9 titled Palindrome Number. So we're given an integer x and we have to return true if x is a palindrome and false otherwise. So in example 1, we have the input x to be an integer 121 and we would output true because 121 reads as 121 from left to right and from right to left, or basically it reads the same as 121 from both forwards and backwards. So in example 2, we have x to be negative 121. And we would output false because from left to right it reads negative 121, and from right to left it becomes 121 minus. And since those two values are not equal, this is not a palindrome, and we would output false. And finally, in example 3, we have x to be 10, and we would output false because it reads as 0, 1 from right to left, and 1, 0 from left to right, which of course are not equal, and so that is not a palindrome. So I will give you guys a few seconds to kind of just go over this problem in your head and think of a valid solution, and then I'll show you guys how I would optimally solve this problem. Okay, so we can't really compare the reverse of an integer with its regular form. And the reason why we want to compare x with its reverse is because that's how a palindrome is defined, right? Left to right and right to left are basically inverses, right? They're basically the opposite of each other. And to compare if an integer is actually a palindrome, we want to compare 1 to 1 with its reverse, basically 1 to 1, right? And its reverse basically means from left to right and then from right to left, starting from the right and going or traversing backwards from right to left, right? So we first go with this 1 and then this 2 and then this 1 in the backwards iteration of this array, or this integer rather. And we can't really call the reverse method or keyword on integers in Python, and so we'd actually have to convert this to a string to accurately and efficiently compare the x value to its reverse. And so first, I could actually do this in a one-liner, but first I'm just going to show you guys how to do it when we're actually comparing it to be a string of x. So I'll set x and basically reset it or update it to be the string of x. And then, to better visualize this, I'll just print out x to show what actually happens. So if I submit this, of course, it wouldn't be accepted. But you can see, instead of getting 1 to 1, I get the string of 1 to 1, right? Of course, we were expected true, but we don't really need to worry about that right now. Right, so essentially, I simply have to return a Boolean value of if x is actually equal to the reversed of x, right? Because if it reads from left to right and right to left the same, that's the reverse of x, and it would return true. But there is actually a minute issue in this code, not in the logic, but in the syntax rather. When we're actually using the reverse keyword on a string, that actually converts the string to an iterable or list of all the different elements reversed, which of course we can't compare a list with a string. Even if it would be a palindrome, that would still output false because there are different data types, and we'd have to actually use the .join method in Python, okay, which simply joins all the values in an iterable to a string, and this would become a string of the reverse of x, and that would be compared to the regular x. And if that actually reads the same, we would output true after converting x to be the string of x. So now, if I were to submit this, you would actually see that this is accepted. But to better or not optimize, but to show this in one line, I could actually just return the string of x equal to the string.join, or basically the joining of one string of the reverse of the string of x. And this still would be the same thing, and it still would be submitted, as you guys can see. It's just a little bit harder to read, but it is one line of code, right, for any of you guys who like that. So obviously for the runtime complexity and the memory time complexity, this is going to be big O of 1 or constant time, because we're not actually using any extra data structures or actually looping through this iterable or something like that. We're just converting it directly to a string and comparing those two values. And for those reasons, this would actually be a constant time operation because we're just converting it to a string and comparing its reverse of it. So this is honestly a pretty trivial problem. It's kind of like the base to actually move on to harder problems, and it's a really good problem to just start off on Leetcode, right? So if you guys enjoyed this solution and learned something new, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. And without further ado, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.